Taking little footsteps, we began to climb.
Near or far, we have reached across Samar.
From Katbalogan, Mercedes, Baranas and Basay. From our halls, we walk their aisles.
Achievements and awards now implies. Join us and we'll show you the greatness of SSU. Samar State University, soaring high with excellence. Seat of innovation, we'll build and serve the nation. Samar State University, it's the best for you and me. Your future and dreams come alive. So come on to Samar State University.
Samar State University.
So come on to Samar State University. From our humble beginnings, we began to shine.
Taking little footsteps, we began to climb.
Near or far, we have reached across Samar.
From Katbalogan, Mercedes, Baranas and Basay. From our halls, we walk their aisles.
Achievements and awards now implies. Join us and we'll show you the greatness of SSU. Samar State University, soaring high with excellence. Seat of innovation, we'll build and serve the nation. Samar State University, it's the best for you and me. Your future and dreams come alive. So come on to Samar State University.
Samar State University.
So come on to Samar State University. From our humble beginnings, we began to shine.
Taking little footsteps, we began to climb.
Near or far, we have reached across Samar.
From Katbalogan, Mercedes, Baranas and Basay. From our halls, we walk their aisles.
Achievements and awards now implies. Join us and we'll show you the greatness of SSU. Samar State University, soaring high with excellence. Seat of innovation, we'll build and serve the nation. Samar State University, it's the best for you and me. Your future and dreams come alive. So come on to Samar State University.
Samar State University.
So come on to Samar State University.
This is the A to Z of ideas and ways to help you cope. A is for activity. Be active, move, do more of the things you enjoy. B, breathe. Take deep breaths in and long, slow breaths out. Count to 10, then start again. C is for create. Find creative ways to express yourself. What other ways are there to be creative? D, distract yourself. If you are in crisis and need to stay safe, try to distract yourself by keeping busy. For example, watch TV, play a game, or read a book. When you feel calmer, you will be more able to tackle the distressing thoughts and feelings. E is for exercise. Get moving. Run around or do some sport, go to the park or playground and have some fun. F, friends and family. Friends and family are important. Spend time with the people that make you feel happy. G is for goal setting. Break tasks down into small steps. Focus on one at a time. H is for helpline. Call Childline. If you feel you can't speak to a parent or teacher, they will listen and offer you help. I is for ice. Cool down. Have an ice cream or a cold shower to lower your temperature to help keep your body and mind calm. J, joke. Find something to make you laugh. K, keep a scrapbook of the places you have been and things you have done. It will remind you of happy times and of your achievements, things to be proud of and feel good about. L, list 3 things you can hear, 3 things you can see, 3 things you can touch. This will help you to focus your mind on the present moment, the here and now. M is for music. Listen to your favourite music. N is for nurture. Look after yourself by making sure you eat and drink. O, organise. Do one thing at a time. Tick things off a list so you can see how much you are getting done. P is for pets. Spend time looking after and playing with an animal. They are great for cuddles. Q, quiet time. Keep things calm and peaceful around you. R, relax. It's important and okay to take a break. How do you like to chill out? S is for support networks. Who's around you that you can lean on for support? Friends, family, teachers, youth clubs, helplines? T, try something new. Try an activity or hobby you haven't done before. You might find something you enjoy and are good at. U, use your talent and strengths. Focus on what you do well and do more of it. This will build your confidence. V is for visualize. Picture your calm or happy place. Maybe you could draw it and put it somewhere to help you focus on other thoughts and images. W, write it down. Keep a diary or blog. Get it out of your mind and onto paper. X is for Xbox. It's okay to have downtime and have fun. Y, you can do it. Positive self-talk can help you believe in yourself. Well done, keep going. Z, sleep on it. Sometimes things feel better when we have a good night's sleep. If you want to find out more, get in touch with Hampshire CAMHS and visit hampshirecams.nhs.uk.
sing a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas.
I am strong
when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. There is no life without its hunger.
Each restless heart beats softly, perfectly.
But when you come and I am filled with wonder, sometimes I think I glimpse eternity. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas.
I am strong
when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas.
I am strong
When I am on your shoulders, you raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Sa langit ng pagkaw, ay nilagang tulaw.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I am Andrea from SSU Student Welfare and Development Services, and I will be your host for this afternoon's webinar. Before we get started, I would like to greet a pleasant afternoon to our University President, Dr. Marilyn D. Cardoso, our Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Felisa Gumba, the Vice President for the Student Affairs and Services, Angie Maria Lourdes Amante, the Vice President for Research and Extension Services, Dr. Ronald Orale, and the Vice President for Administration and Finance, Dr. Lydia Gonzalez. And of course, good afternoon to all the deans from the different colleges, the campus directors from the different external campuses of SSU, and of course, to our beloved students. Of course, I would like to thank you, all of you who are joining us here today in our FB live stream. If this is your first time to join live streams of SSU-SWDS, please don't forget to smash that like or follow button to get updates for our upcoming activities. I also want to encourage you guys to, especially those who have YouTube accounts, to follow, to like our YouTube channel. So please subscribe. So take note, all caps, SSU-SWDS. So again, our YouTube channel is all caps, SSU-SWDS. So as of now, we have around 45 viewers in our FB live stream. So para mahin pa natin sharing this live stream, your friends, mentioning them at the comment section. So do not hesitate to tag or mention them, since this is a free webinar and this is open to all, even to non-SSU students or employees. So yesterday we had a participant from India. So wow, diba? So you can share this. Bisan kanino para maka-join in ating FB live stream. So also, when you share or post about this webinar, do not forget to use our official hashtags, hashtag SWDS, Positive Emotion and Coping, hashtag Think Positive, Test Negative, and hashtag Ang Kabataan, Ang Pag-asa ng Bayan. So to give you our house rules, because I believe that this will be an amazing webinar for all of us. As long as everyone follows this few simple rules. So rule number 1, especially for those who are in the Zoom, please turn off your camera and microphone if not needed. Rule number 2, also for Zoom participants, please rename using the following format: your school _ first name, or your agency _ first name. So for example, your name is Juan, so SU _ Juan, or SMCC _ Rico. Ayan. So again, this is open to all. So we are expecting also other schools to join us. Rule number 3 for FB Live participants, you may share, tag, or mention your friends to join this FB live stream, but please refrain from posting unnecessary comments in the comment section. Rule number 4 for Zoom participants, questions and clarifications will be entertained after the talk. By then, you may turn on your cam and mic, or you may use the chat box. The moderators will queue if you're already recognized. For FB participants, you may key in your questions and clarifications in the comment section, but will be entertained after the talk. Rule number 5, if it's possible, please stay at the end of the symposium. Rule number 6, make sure to fill out the attendance or evaluation and answer the post-test to secure your certificate of participation. So by the way, you send the certificate around December. So this is very important. Attendance or evaluation link will be opened until December 2020 on behalf of those who will not be able to join the live stream of this symposium. All right, so marami na akong sinabi, but I would like to emphasize the importance or the purpose of today's activity. So why are we conducting webinars like this? Why are we doing what we are doing right now? Because we all know that we are in the midst of COVID-19 crisis, right? And for the past few months, we have dealt with various changes since the start of this pandemic. And we all know that when we're experiencing changes, These are oftentimes stressful because these changes requires us to adjust and to adapt. Experiencing too many adjustments within a brief period of time often creates a perception that we are not in control of everything. And humans, as we are, we use different coping mechanisms. So just to educate all of you, may adapt positive and negative coping. But today we will only focus on positive emotions and coping because I don't know if you know this, but research has shown that positive emotions such as joy, gratitude, and love promotes the use of adaptive coping strategies, stress management. And yes, so that means people who have plenty of positive emotions in their everyday lives tend to be happier, healthier, learn better, and get along well with others. So we really encourage you to stay with us until the end of this webinar because we really want to spread awareness and of course to educate all of you about positive emotions and coping. So dami-dami ko na talagang sinasabi, no? But now, to introduce us to this afternoon's resource speaker, we have here the always vibrant and blooming Director of Student Welfare and Development Services, Dr. May V. Canyal.
Good afternoon once again, our dear students, and for those who are not from SSU who are watching us live to SSU-SWDS page. So for this afternoon, we will be talking about positive emotions and coping. So our speaker for this afternoon for the past 3 years, she has been the director of the Center of Psychological and Research Extension Services in Ateneo de Davao University. This center has actually helped many communities throughout Mindanao and other parts of the Philippines during times of disasters. Her work also includes providing psychosocial support to the EFP. Additionally, she is an associate professor at Ateneo de Davao University and teaching psychology subject ranging from undergraduate to graduate levels. She also has her own center in Davao City where she provides psychological services to adolescents and young adults. She is undergoing training both in cognitive behavioral therapy with the Beck Institute and trauma-focused cognitive behavioral training with Psych Consultancy. Apart from her regular practice, she also works with survivors of childhood sexual abuse. Our students and our participants from the page, our resource speaker for this afternoon is the Director of the Center of Psychological and Research Extension Services of Ateneo de Davao University, Dr. Maria Isabel S. Lemen.
Good afternoon, Dr. May. Let me just share my screen really quickly. All right. So before I begin, I'd like to thank Dr. May and the rest of the administrators of Samar State University for having invited me and considered me to be the resource person for this afternoon's talk on positive emotions and coping. I am greatly honored to be sharing my expertise with you this afternoon and my knowledge. So thank you very much for the invite. Hold on. All right. So before I begin on the actual talk, I'd like to discuss some definitions so we are on the same page. So to begin with, what are emotions? So emotions are multi-component response tendencies that unfold over a relatively short time span. So in other words, it is emotions are something that we feel, no? or these are our reactions when certain things happen to us, both good or bad. So emotions are typically short-lived, and usually there is a trigger for how we feel. Now, the second thing I wanted to discuss really quickly also is your mood. So what is the difference between emotions and mood? The mood is less specific, it's less intense, and it's less likely to be provoked or instantiated by a particular stimulus or event. So a little bit technical in terms of definition, but your mood tends to be a little bit more vague. Sometimes it can involve just waking up in the morning and being in a low mood. So which is different from emotions. Now, I want you to quickly think about a few scenarios. For example, you are scolded by a parent. How would you feel? So take a few moments to think about that. How would you feel if you're scolded by a parent or if your attention is called? So how would you feel if your teacher, let's say, catches you cheating or doing something you're not supposed to be doing? How would you feel if your boyfriend, for example, gives you flowers and shows some affection towards you? Or when you watch your favorite Netflix series, how would you feel? Or have getting a high grade on an exam that you studied hard for. So if you notice, when you think about certain situations, there are emotions that are evoked as a result of that. Now, what are the differences between moods and emotions? So moods last typically from minutes to hours. So sometimes if it's provoked, no, a provocation lowers the threshold needed to trigger emotions. Um, Typically, regulation is mostly unaffected. Your expression, there's no unique nonverbal expression involved there. And the awareness, no? It's difficult to identify exact triggers causing the mood. So sometimes you wake up and you just feel like your mood is low. So in contrast, emotions are different. Uh, Emotions typically last from seconds to minutes, and then it's more easily experienced within the mood, and sometimes it belongs to the same family. So if you wake up in a low mood, your emotions would tend to what ba mirror or mimic, you know, your mood. And then it's more difficult to regulate sometimes your emotions if it is experienced within the mood. So in other words, if let's say you wake up in a depressed mood, your emotions would tend to be in that family of or like being sad, of not being unmotivated. So typically, your mood can also affect, well, will affect your emotions. And then typically, in terms of expression, you would know there are universal facial expressions that are associated with certain moods. So just imagine a parent being upset, you being happy. How would your face look like if you were happy, if you were sad, if you were angry? Um, and also, the nice thing about emotions, though, is that sometimes, no, um, if you are aware of how you feel or how you react to certain situations, you would be better able to identify what your emotion is and how you are reacting to particular situations. Now, emotions, as mentioned earlier, can be both positive or negative. Now, when we take a look at negative emotions, let's think about regret, hate, fear, anger, shame, guilt, or sadness. These are typical reactions to certain situations that happen to us. Now, positive emotions can be things like love or joy, pride, empathy, hope, and happiness. So, really quickly, let's go back to um, hold on. Let's go back to the scenarios that I talked about. So the five different scenarios would be being scolded by a parent, for example. No, Let's say you are in a good mood, a very good mood, and you're happy. Do you think that being scolded by a parent would bring you down as much as compared to a situation where you are depressed? Or let's say your boyfriend gives you flowers, but you're having a low mood. um, it will give you a sense of joy, no? So sometimes like little things like that would help lift you from wherever you are and whatever mood you're feeling. Okay, now there are two theories. Really quickly, I can't separate being a teacher from from who I am, right? So there has to be some kind of discussion on a theory. I'll just simplify it for you guys. So how do we understand coping in the context of stress? So there are two models that I'd like to discuss really quickly. One is the stress bucket model, which illustrates what happens to us when we are unable to cope with the stressors that we face. And then there's the broaden and build theory that was mentioned earlier, which helps us see the relationship between positive emotions and coping. Now, really quickly, take a look at the stress bucket on the left side of your screen. What does it tell you? So the stress bucket shows us how much stress we are able to tolerate. Now, there we are faced with different stressors, which would include the workload, illness, either yours or others, negative feedback, conflict, and all those things that normally stress us out. Now, as we experience more of this, obviously our stress bucket starts to fill up. However, if you notice in the stress bucket, we actually have tools to be able to deal with stress. Now, the better able we are to deal with the stressors by using more positive coping strategies, then what happens is our stress bucket doesn't fill up as much. It doesn't go all the way to 10 because the harder it is to deal with stress, no, and the more maladaptive coping strategies that we employ, the more full our stress bucket would be. So what would happen anyway when our stress bucket is full? Well, we experience anxiety. We experience physical reactions. For the older ones, like me, we can experience things like palpitations, things like body aches and pains. For the younger ones, you can experience headaches. You can experience all other physical symptoms that go along with being very stressed. Or sometimes, if you notice that you feel depressed out of nowhere, or if you feel very anxious, notice your level of stress and see how it is affecting you. So again, no, the more productive coping strategies that we use, the less we are able to develop what we call psychopathological symptoms. So symptoms that make us experience things like burnout, anxiety, and stress. All right, so then I go to Barbara Frederickson's theory, broaden and build theory, which generally says that our positive emotions like joy, love, contentment, interest, and happiness um, expands our inventory of thoughts and actions. So try to remember the scenarios that I gave you, or let's say, or think of a scenario that would stress you out or bring you down. So think about that. And then think of that using the lens of somebody who is happy, somebody who is experiencing joy, somebody who is in love, somebody who is content with what he or she has, hopeful, having a lot of other interests. So when we experience emotions, or when challenging things happen to us and we have all these positive emotions that well up our sleeve, what happens is then it allows us to build a lot of resources. No? So it expands our thoughts or how we deal with things. It allows us to build our resources physically, mentally, and socially. And then it helps us transform. So it helps us grow more as people and create more positive emotions. So that's how it goes. And the question here would be, okay, so now what about the COVID pandemic? I mean, here we are experiencing our lives having been turned upside down. We don't know exactly when we're going to go on ECQ, GCQ, MCQ, or whatever other restrictions that will be put on us. And we also have, our normal lives that we have to deal with. For example, we have our schoolwork, the workload at school, for those who are working, the things that you need to do, no, in order to accomplish whatever it is that you need to do for a certain period of time. Now, one of the things that I noticed as a result of the pandemic is that some of us feel the need to be productive. And so, what does that mean to be productive? I think that even me, no, myself, I had to adjust my perception of what being productive is. Because does it mean that you're working straight from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock in the evening? Does it mean that you can be on call 24/7? What does being productive mean anyway? So there was initially this drive for everybody to want to be a good employee, a good grow as a person. Oh, I'm sure that a lot of you signed up for a lot of seminars and webinars on different websites, Coursera, learning more, which is not a bad thing. But guess what? At some point, you feel burnt out. I did, admittedly, I signed up for courses that I had to attend. And what happened there was, after a while, I was thinking to myself, I think it's too much already, no? So I think this was a time for us to redefine what productivity is and how all of these things are affecting how we are functioning and, in general, our mental well being. So, what happened to us with COVID? Of course, we had to deal with our lives having been turned upside down. Can you imagine all of a sudden you can't go out? Every time you go out, it's like taking a risk. No, it's like what ba getting being afraid of and getting infected or infecting people. And so for some of you, I'm sure, even Dr. May has actually expressed this to me. There have been times when you have a COVID scare, and when you do have that COVID scare, you get worried, you get anxious, then you get yourself tested or you isolate yourself. And by the way, being isolated for 14 days is no joke. It's not easy. That was one of the things that even I had to deal with. And then we also became very careful about the things that we did. Yun na nga. So things like going out was needed to be calculated. How often should I go to the grocery store? How much food should I buy? Should I go to work today? Am I risking my life and those of the people that I love by being at work, um, or by going to work? How much work should I do? What time should I sleep? Things like that are things that we also had to consider. Now, we had to deal with the new normal. So, what is the new normal? Well, in February, I remember, um, you know, uh, the first time that there was that threat of COVID. I'm sure that a lot of you and even me were bothered, no, but not just bothered, but afraid about all of these things that could happen. Um, no going out without masks. No going to the grocery, no going to the mall. So we had to deal with the new normal. Every time we go out, it has to be calculated. We have to think about the risk, not just to ourselves, but also our loved ones. And then in the end, we were forced to be more resilient. We were actually forced to adjust to the situation and seeing how um, we could live our lives, no, given this situation. Okay. So now for a quick question, I'd like you to reflect upon this really quickly. So when was the last time that you felt positive emotions? So try and reflect upon that. Sometimes we go on autopilot or automatic mode where we just wake up, do our work, and then sleep. Eat, sleep, that's it. So every day, the things that we do become automatic that we hardly notice. When was the last time I felt joy? Or when was the last time I even laughed? Or when was the last time I was happy? Um, what are the things that make me happy? So try and reflect upon that and think about the last time that you felt positive emotions. Now, if you're gonna tell me I felt a positive emotion 5 minutes ago, then great. I'm happy to hear that. But if you're going to tell me that the last time you don't even remember the last time you felt positive emotions, you're basically telling me that perhaps you are experiencing positive emotions, but you don't notice it, or maybe you just think, oh, that's just a part of my day. So out of like let's say in a day, out of the 12 or 16 hours I'm up in a day, I don't remember having felt the positive emotions. Not because I didn't feel it, but because perhaps maybe I didn't notice. Um, so, what are examples of positive emotions? Joy, gratitude, serenity, or being at peace with yourself. Interest, having an interest in something. Um, One of the things that, let's say, my son, for example, no, did during the COVID was get interested in learning a new language, or what, honing music skills. Or my daughter, for example, enjoys dancing, so that's what she does. She dances. So I generally encourage everybody, no, to develop some kind of interest in something, because that helps you feel happy, it helps you feel joy. And then how about being hopeful, or having a sense of pride in something that you do, or being amused about something. Oh, I have a confession to make. I have been watching a lot of K dramas. I think every single day I have a new K drama that I'm like so crazy over. And it's something that has helped tide me over, especially during times when I've been so stressed with work. Um, how about inspiration, being inspired to do something? Would you guys believe that sometimes inspiration doesn't have to be related to work? It can be related to improving your looks, improving yourself, um, uh, appreciating the things that you have, and taking a look at the strengths that you have. Awe, being in awe of something. What does that mean? So, like for example, all you have to do to feel that is to go outside and stare at the moon and the stars, for example. Can you imagine? Um, we are part of a bigger universe. And sometimes looking at that or appreciating the things around us um, helps us experience awe. And how about love? Of course, how can we not discount love? Love will always be something that will help tide us over. Now, these are good examples of positive emotions. And there are studies that have come out that sometimes being grateful for, let's say, mentioning that you're grateful for three things every single day, or writing it down, allows you to take a look at opportunities to experience positive emotions. And it also helps rewire your brain into perceiving things from the perception of somebody who is happy, now using the lens of someone who's happy. So according to Frederickson, these positive emotions broaden your momentary thought action repertoire. Or you know what? Put simply, how you would normally react to things. So when you feel joy, you want to play. You want to do something that will help you experience it even more. Um, or an interest sparks the urge to explore. Let's say um, you want to take up music, learning how to play a musical instrument. That's something. It's something that you can explore. What if you discover that you have a talent that you never really thought about before? Being content with what you have um, sparks the urge to savor and integrate. So, in other words, when you are content with what you have, when you receive more than what you have, what happens is you feel it more. You're able to savor it. You're able to appreciate no those things. Love sparks a recurring cycle of each of these emotions, and also it allows you to build each of these urges now, um, and then it allows you also to build closer relationships with others. So if you were to think about it, positive emotions do help us. So if you were to think of a metaphor, think of, let's say, um, your snacks before meals. So so that you're not gonna get hungry, what are you gonna do? You're gonna have all these snacks, right, throughout the day, like small snacks. So these are the ones that help tide you over as you get to the bigger things. So the way that I would explain it is positive emotions allow you to experience no joy. It's pampatawid. It allows you to deal with stress better. Because imagine thinking about stress, but approaching it from the perspective of somebody who's in love, or somebody who is happy, somebody who is grateful or hopeful, so that when these stressors come, no, what happens to us is we are able to take a look at these stressors as just that, or something we can deal with, or something that we can easily overcome. Now, how do positive emotions help? Well, it helps us become more creative. You know, one thing that I took up, and Dr. May knows this about me. I enjoy doing crochet, for example, because it relaxes me. So I look for designs on Pinterest and look at different things that I can do, so that maybe I can make all these things, these crocheted, for example, glass holders that I can give to friends over Christmas. So uh, there are two things that I get out of that. One is that while I'm doing it, I'm relaxed. Two is that I'm actually transmitting my love, no, and joy to the piece of art that I'm making for the people that I care about and the people that I love. And so another thing also is that positive emotions help us perform better. So, generally speaking, when you are content, happy, hopeful, it doesn't matter what happens, let's say at work or at school, because generally speaking, you have that buffer to be able to deal with any kind of stress that happens. So, if, for example, your teacher dumps like a whole load of homework on you, or your boss does that to you, if you are generally in a happy disposition, you know, you have a good mood, or you are happy or content, what happens is you're able to cope with that, or you can even negotiate, no, if it's too much. um, and then most of the time, one of the things that I've noticed is if you're willing to do the work, but you know that you can't, let's say, uh, complete all of those things within a certain period of time, you can approach your superior, your teacher, and maybe ask for a deadline, no, maybe a longer deadline or something like that. But generally speaking, you will be able to perform better. So another thing also is that your well-being will improve. So generally speaking, as you experience more positive emotions, it becomes a cycle. So it builds on itself, and then it helps you build the resources that you need to face the challenges that you normally face every single day. which brings me to my next point. You will be able to deal with stress better. Your negative emotions will be reduced. So if you're in, let's say, or even your mood will improve. Because, for example, now you wake up and you're in a bad mood, but then you have like 4, 5, or 6, let's say, positive emotions that you feel in a day, and you allow yourself to feel this, you will notice some changes in how you actually feel. Now, biologically speaking, positive emotions can help us increase performance in cognitive tasks. So, what does that mean? So, things that require us to think, things that require us to process information, to remember things. Um, Positive emotions will help us do that better. They can trigger the reward pathways in our brain, and generally, it will help lower the stress hormones and improve our well being. And then the third is they help us broaden our horizons and widen our brain's scope of focus. Now, that's a mouthful, right? But what does it really mean? So, it means that it gives us the opportunity to recognize other positive things that happen to us from the perspective of somebody who is experiencing a positive emotion. Now, that brings me to a question. Does this mean that we should only feel positive emotions? Here's my answer to that. Not always. Especially, so when is it not a good time, no, to force yourself to be positive? It is when you are using the positive emotions to mask your negative emotions. And the reason for this is because emotions are something that you feel. Now, if you mask what you feel, um, what happens is you have a hard time later on in dealing with all the things that you have to deal with. Like, for example, you're upset but you pretend that you're happy. What do you think will happen to you then? But if you're upset and you sit with that emotion, remember what I said earlier, that emotions can last from a few seconds to a few minutes. So it doesn't last longer than, let's say, a couple of hours. You know what makes it worse? Our thoughts sometimes makes it worse. So sometimes we have our emotion, but then if we sit with it and not judge how we feel, just accept that that's how we feel and then let it go, then you've generally processed that emotion. But if you're upset and you pretend that you're happy, what do you think will happen then? Will that allow you to what feel good about what's happening? Um, so that's the thing. So it's not all the time that we need to feel positive emotions. Now, an example that I thought of was this one. Think of an empty gas tank. Um, Forcing yourself to feel positive emotions sometimes can look like the illustration that I have here. So you can put maybe a smiley face on the E, the empty gauge in your gas tank, but it doesn't change the fact that eventually you're gonna run out of gas. So another thing I'd like to emphasize is this: negative emotions can also help. So, for example, anger helps us fight against problems. So, why would you get angry anyway? Sometimes you get angry because you feel that your boundary has been crossed, or sometimes you feel like um, what somebody did something to you and that offended you. So, anger actually helps you no fight against problems or issues regarding things like boundary. Fear. What about fear? Is that a good thing? Well, sometimes, especially if it protects us from danger. Um, so this is more of an evolutionary emotion or feeling that must have helped the hunters and gatherers, our ancestors, actually survive. Sadness connects us with people to love that we love, and disgust actually gives us a way to reject the things that are unhealthy for us. Now, when we experience positive emotions, what happens? Um, hold on. What happens is, hold on. Um, Okay, what happens is we make better decisions actually, and that would contribute to our better health. And then we would tend to use more effective coping skills because remember that if we are experiencing happy emotions, we tend to go towards the more positive ways of dealing with things. So we would have a buffer against the term that we use for this is psychopathological symptoms. And what are these? These are feelings of anxiety. These are feelings of symptoms like palpitations, physical symptoms, psychological symptoms such as anxiety, phobias, and things like that. So another thing that helps us know the experience of positive emotion helps us with is regulating our emotions because when we feel something there's nothing wrong with that, but you know what drives sometimes our emotions are our thoughts and the way that we behave. So there are different ways to experience positive emotions. One of them is to savor. I mentioned this earlier, but it is about carefully and mindfully savoring the moment and the associated positive emotion. So, in other words, you accomplish something. Let's say you finish a paper that you've been working so hard on. So, allow yourself to experience before you go on to your next task. Allow yourself to experience joy or the feeling of contentment or the feeling of happiness for what maybe a good 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or maybe an hour if possible. Savor what you feel, especially if it is positive. The second is you capitalize on that. Think about how to make a situation happen again in the future. So if you experience a positive emotion, if you are mindful of when you experience these positive emotions, you can capitalize on them. So this makes me happy. Maybe I should do more of this. And how about broadening? So reflect on all of the good things in your life as well. So if you're already feeling a positive emotion, how about thinking about the other things that make you happy or the other things that make you feel the positive emotions? Um, then you notice that emotion will be reinforced more. How about remembering the times or reminiscing or remembering the times when you were happy, for example? So you recall the positive memories that you have and the times that you felt the same way. How about social sharing? So sharing your experiences with others. Dr. May knows this. I bug her sometimes in the middle of the night and message her. Let's say I'm happy about something. I message my friends. I tell them, oh, guess what? I did this, I did that. And because I'm sharing how I feel, it reinforces my positive feeling even more, especially to people who care about me and my friends and my social network. Um, and then it also allows me to well, another thing that we would have to do would be to avoid negative and stressful stimuli. So what are the things that make us feel uncomfortable or ill at ease? What are these things? Sometimes recognizing these things help us avoid, no, help us learn to know which ones are the things or triggers that we need to avoid in general. um, okay, so I would like to ask a quick question to you guys. um, is your mind full or are you mindful? So notice that the spelling of the two is different. So what happens when your mind is full? When you're thinking about a lot of things at the same time. Um, you could be thinking about, let's say, doing some work and then be distracted by, but I have to clean my room. I have to call my boss. I have to do this. I have to do that. So as you think about more things that you're supposed to be doing, your mind would be similar to what you see on the left side. And but on the right side, being mindful is taking a look at what's in front of you. You notice the picture to the right of the picture is a person who just notices the trees that are in front of him or her. Why? Because that person is actually enjoying the moment. The person is not thinking about anything else but enjoying the moment. A good example of this is that sometimes, let's say you're doing something and you ask, let's say, a child or somebody from your house to give you, let's say, a glass of water. You are so busy that sometimes you tell yourself, where I asked for water, where is it? Yung pala, it's right in front of you. So that's what happens when our minds are full. However, when we are being mindful, then we notice all these things. We notice the things that are happening around us. We are at the present moment rather than in the past, which sometimes helps lead to depression, or the future, which sometimes leads to anxiety. Now, okay, so what does it mean to be mindful? Being mindful means that you still allow yourself to experience emotions. However, you feel the emotion at that particular time. You don't judge yourself for feeling that emotion. Remember what I mentioned earlier, that it's not necessarily a bad thing, to be negative, or not to be negative, but to experience negative emotions. But it's about not judging yourself for feeling the way you do. So sitting with the emotion and not judging yourself, and then letting it pass. One of the things that I really like, about mindfulness, is that it allows us to feel the emotions, the entire spectrum of emotions, without judgment. So sometimes we are our biggest critics. It's the voices in our heads, or the our inner critic that doesn't allow us to become mindful. Sometimes you think, well, I'm feeling sad. And then you tell yourself, you shouldn't be feeling sad. You should always be positive. So the shoulds, the woulds, and the coulds are sometimes the things that prevent us from being mindful. Now, there are qualities of mindfulness that are illustrated in this slide. So, being mindful is being present, undistracted, focused, and attentive. Being aware, so having a clear mind, being awake, noticing, checking, being open, and having the thoughts that are vivid. Another thing about mindfulness, which I really appreciate and like and use a lot in my practice, is kindness. Sometimes we forget to be kind to ourselves. We need to remember that we already sometimes are judged by the other people around us. How about if we became kinder to ourselves? If we allowed ourselves to just feel what we're feeling and not judge, to sometimes allow ourselves to make mistakes and accept that maybe we can do better next time. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So being kind to ourselves always helps, no? It's like one of the things that I learned from our department chair in Ateneo was that she said, you have to be kind to yourself. And I'm thinking, what do you mean? What does being kind to yourself mean? It means taking a break when you have to. Um, if you're tired, go ahead and rest. If there are things you need to do, give yourself time, to do these things. Uh, don't always be rushing to complete things. If, like I said, you're unable to meet a deadline, just inform. Um, but don't be naman like 1 month late or 2 months late, because we know that that would be unprofessional behavior. But what I'm saying is, sometimes being a few days late is not that bad. Um, and then being mindful also is about learning how to relax. No, we don't have to be working all the time. We have to reevaluate what our definition of being productive really means. It's about taking it easy once in a while. It's about being patient with ourselves. It's about being. It's about letting go. So these are the qualities of mindfulness that I appreciate. And the more mindful we are, the better able we will be to experience positive emotions. Now, before I end this talk, really quickly, no, these are 6 steps to help you deal with difficult emotions. So, at some point, we experience emotions that sometimes can be difficult to deal with. So, how do we deal with them anyway? The first thing that we need to do is to turn toward your emotions with acceptance. This is where I said it's okay to be angry, it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be lonely, or it's okay to experience negative emotions. So, experience the emotion, but don't judge yourself. Just accept that that's how you feel at that particular time. And then the second is, okay, so I'm experiencing a difficult emotion. I wonder what it is. So what is this difficult emotion? So it's important to label the emotion as well. Because sometimes you think, oh, I'm irritable, but guess what? I think it's because I'm angry about something. What am I angry about? So it allows you to problem solve. So um, identifying and labeling emotions and being aware of your emotions will help you regulate them better. No? And then the third step is accepting your emotions. So again, it's okay. Don't deny that it exists if you're upset or something. So acknowledge that it's there and acknowledge and accept that it's there. But here's the thing about emotions. Remember, as I discussed earlier, it is not a permanent thing. Emotions eventually pass. So even if the emotion feels overwhelming at a particular time, we have to remember that that particular emotion will eventually pass. So extract yourself from that emotion and inquire and investigate. So you think about, what do you think is triggering this emotion? Where is it coming from? Why do I feel this way? And then let go of the need to control your emotion. I'm not saying that it's okay to be throwing things around the room because you're so upset. I'm just saying that you recognize that you're angry, you sit with it, you relax, figure out or problem solve and figure out where that anger is coming from. And then let go of the need to control it. No, just allow yourself to feel it, because why? Eventually, that emotion will dissipate. Okay. Um, all right. So that ends my talk. I hope that you guys learned something from the discussion. I'd like to turn you over now to Dr. May, or who the host is. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Isabel Lemon, for such an informative talk about positive emotions and coping. Actually, I personally learned a lot. Nag-take notes ako actually. So, ang mga na-take note ko didi, positive emotions allows us to experience joy and helps us deal with stress better. So, for example, being grateful can improve how we see a negative situation, or always seeing the silver lining and almost everything. Nalala ko tuloy si Catriona. All right, so thank you so much, Dr. Lemon. Ayan. So at this point, I would like to encourage my FB participants to drop your questions or prepare your messages, questions in our FB Live comment section. And for Zoom participants to please raise your virtual hand in Zoom or type your questions in the chat box. I am sure Dr. Lemon is willing to answer all of it. Okay, so while you are preparing for your questions, yes, willing pa talaga si Dr. Lemon. So while you are preparing for your questions or messages or anything, may I now call in our ever supportive Vice President for Student Affairs and Services, Engineer Maria Lourdes Piamante, to award the certificate of recognition to our resource speaker. Ma'am.
Thank you.
Hi, ma'am. Good
Thank you,
afternoon.
Ma'am. Good afternoon po, ma'am. Good afternoon po. Good Samar City University, Office of the University President. Certificate of recognition is awarded to Dr. Maria Isabel S. Lemen, in grateful recognition for imparting her valuable insights and expertise as a resource speaker during the webinar on positive emotion and coping, held on November 14, 2020 at Samar State University. Given this 14th day of November 2020 at Samar State University, Catalogan City, Samar. Signed, Dr. Marlene Cardoso, University President. Thank you so much, Ma'am Lemen.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you po. Salamat.
Welcome.
All right, thank you so much, Engineer Amante, and of course, thank you so much, Dr. Lemon, for your time and for sharing your expertise with us. Okay, so to our participants, do you have questions or any clarifications, comments, messages, or whatsoever? Please key in your questions in the comment section in our FB live stream, or to all participants in Zoom, you may actually type your questions in the chat box if you have. Okay? As of now, we're still waiting. Baka naman nagta-type pa. Ayan. We have a question here from Miss Ezra May Kabanganan. Dr. Lemon, we have a question.
Yes.
Sabi dito, we all know that self-invalidation is not good, but sometimes it can't be prevented. How can one person really cope with it? Or what other activities can be done? Parang ang dali lang po kasi sabihin, pero ang
Yeah.
hirap gawin.
Yeah. Self-invalidation comes from perhaps negative emotions that we have had when growing up, or as we learn to deal with other people. So what happens is, sometimes there's that voice in our heads that tell us you're not good enough, that tell us you're not competent enough. Now, one of the things that CBT actually encourages you to do is to set little goals for yourself, because the more things that you're able to accomplish, the better you'll feel about yourself. So if you have a big goal, break it down to smaller steps and allow yourself to be motivated by that feeling of accomplishment as you take the smaller steps. And then little by little, you'll notice yourself being more positive, being we're experiencing joy. No? So again, it's more about taking things a step at a time. So if you're used to, let's say, invalidating yourself all the time, then what you need to do is have a goal, set a goal, and then break it down to smaller things. And as you accomplish those things, then you feel parang, ay, kaya ko pala. I can do it. I can actually, diba, Dr. May would know that. We experienced this when we wrote, for example, our dissertations. If you think about it, the task is very daunting, and there's always that voice at the back of our head saying, well, maybe you can't do it, it's not good enough, it's this. But you know what? You will never know until you start. So you have to start somewhere. And taking the little steps helps us reach our goal better, regardless of what we tell ourselves. So it will never hurt to try. So we should never allow that inner voice of self-invalidation to prevent us from doing the things that we would like to do. No? So always never be afraid to take the first step.
All right, thank you, Dr. Lem. One step at a time, Miss Ezra Kabanganan. Thank you so much for that question. We also have here, actually it's not a question, but it's a message from Miss Sunshine Mendoza. She said, thank you, Dr. Lemon, for your edifying messages. I learned a lot from your talk. Now I need to be more careful with my emotions.
Yes.
And so,
Or
all right.
recognize your emotions. That's important. Recognizing your emotions, being more aware of how you feel is a good way, no, to start learning like which ones are positive and which ones are not. So separating them so that you're able to problem solve when you do feel stressed, when you do feel overwhelmed, no. So and it's
Yes.
about unraveling and being aware. So yeah.
All right. Yes. And also kanina na-remember ko lang, sabi mo po is do not mask your negative emotions with your positive emotions. Diba? There are times that it's not appropriate to do that.
Mm. Important.
All right, so yes. Mga greetings lang yung andito sa Facebook comment section. Sabi lang ni Ninya Lynn Oblino, good afternoon, SSU. Yan, good afternoon din, Ninya Lynn. And good afternoon, SSU from Rosario Helvano. Ayan. So maybe you have questions. Kindly key in your questions in the comment section or chat box for Zoom participants. Baka kasi clear na talaga sa kanila, ma'am. Kaya ganon.
Yes. Oh, you know what I forgot? Never, ever, ever forget your sense of humor. Don't take yourself seriously all the time. And that, do you know, would you believe that that's one of the things I learned from Dr. May? She
Yeah.
actually helped me survive. Seriously, I'm so appreciative of her sense of humor because we have been through so much, especially in working not towards getting our degree. It was not easy, but it was her sense of humor actually that helped us get it done. No, so yeah, I'm so appreciative of that.
Yes. Actually, happy talaga always. Smile kasi yung nickname niya, ma'am.
Oo nga.
Baka naman gusto mag-join, Ma'am May. Ma'am May, magpakita ka naman. Yes, actually, mag-classmate po sila sa PhD in Ateneo de Davao University. So that's why we have a Dr. Lemen this afternoon.
Yes.
Yes.
Dami-dami na namin nagawa. Diba, Doctor?
Marami kang pinagsamahan.
Yes.
Ako lang ang puro
Yes.
kalukuhan.
Pero appreciated naman yun. Highly appreciated.
Lahat
Diba?
sila seryoso eh.
Oo nga. If there is a problem with my emotion, because I have... Sige, go ahead.
We have another question from Zoom, from Miss... FB pala. But Miss Patricia Ann. I am a bit confused if there is a problem with my emotions because I had this past experience for many years na hirap for me to move on or be happy.
Okay. So, if you are from, let's say, Samar State, SSU naman siya, no? If Patricia, for example, is from Samar State, she can always go to Dr. May. So sometimes talking about these past experiences is also important, or getting counseling over them, because if the past experiences are preventing you from experiencing positive emotions, this might be something that needs to be addressed through counseling. It would depend on the extent, I would say, of whatever experience that was. Now, if you're talking about a romantic breakup, just give it time. If you're talking about a severe experience, let's say, very traumatic experience from childhood, that one would need the help of a mental health professional. So I would strongly suggest that you go and see one. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Mental health professionals are there to help you feel better about yourself and to promote your general well-being. So, yeah. Ay, nakamute po kayo. Ma'am Andrea, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so that's it, Miss Patricia Ann. So if you're a student of SSU, do not hesitate to send a message in our FB page, SSU dash as a Student Welfare and Development Services. And so we're going online also. So don't hesitate to send us the message and so that we can have an appointment with you. Meron tayong message dito from Ezra May, yung nagtanong kanina. Sabi niya, thank you po, ma'am. I'll start taking little steps and I'll be kind to myself na po. God bless po.
I'm happy to hear that. That's really one of my advocacies, no? To encourage people to really be kinder to themselves. Which is hard, hindi yan madali. But then if it becomes a habit, then
Yes.
it helps, no? It helps provide the buffer that we need to deal with stress.
Right. So let's be kind to ourselves. Okay, so do we have other questions? For now, wala pa naman. Okay, so wala pa namang questions. I guess everything is clear already. So for those who have, experiencing mental health problems or difficulties or mental health discomforts, do not hesitate to ask for help. Okay, so it's okay to not be okay at times, and we are here, the SSU Student Welfare and Development Services, to help you with your struggle or challenge. Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Lemen. Wala na po kasi nagtatanong. So
Thank you very much
clear na
for
po talaga.
inviting me.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes po, thank you.
I really appreciate the invite.
All the way from Davao ba?
Yeah. Ano nga sayang nga.
Yes.
I could have gone there.
Yes.
Wala kaming pamasahe para sa'yo.
Kaya nga po eh.
Okay lang.
You will shoulder your fare.
Diba?
Next time.
Yeah, but I'm happy. I'm very happy to do this for you. This is something that I really am an advocate of, teaching people to be kinder to themselves, no? And be more aware. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share with you guys.
Yes, Dr. Lemen, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. And of course, thank you everyone who joined us today. Learned a lot and you will be able to apply it in your daily lives. So it's about time talaga to end this webinar. And we have here a message from Edgardo Labe. Just want to congratulate the organizers for this activity. Mom She here. Oh, Mom Sherry and Labid. Thank you, ma'am, for joining us today. All right. So since we will end our webinar already, just an announcement to all who participated this afternoon that we will post the attendance link, of course, in this page, SSU-SWDS FB page, after this Facebook Live. So make sure that you fill out attendance or evaluation and of course answer the post test. Yes, we have a post test. So I hope that you listen kanina para may na-learn kayo and you will be able to answer the questions. And that is to secure the certificate of participation. And that will be given on December since the attendance link will be open until December. So this has been Maria Andrea C. Del Rosario saying, always think positive and test negative. So goodbye. And by the way, for those who are in Zoom, please stay until the end of the FB Live so we can take pictures. Thank you, Dr. Lemen. And thank you, everyone.
this refrain. Faith will lead us to our destiny of success or adversity. Yet to thy name we give our loyalty. Alma mater, hail to thee. In the ivy halls of learning, found the wisdom thou hast gained, shaping lives for home and country, for our nations great and free. Sing we of her fame and honor, carry we her banner high. On and on we march to victory, broaden both forevermore.
From our humble beginnings, we began to shine.
From taking little footsteps, we began to
Near or
climb.
far, we have reached across
From
Samar.
Katbalogan, Mercedes, Bahanas and Basay. From our halls we walk their aisles.
Achievements and awards now we prize. Join us and we'll show you the greatness of SSU. Samar State University, soaring high with excellence, seat of innovation, we'll build and serve the nation. Samar State University, it's the best for you and me. Your future and dreams come alive. So come on to Samar State University.